Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, October 5th evening update on the tropics. As always, these thoughts are mine alone, and in making decisions regarding the systems that we're going to be discussing today, please refer to the National Hurricane Center, your local National Weather Service office, and your local authorities for all the latest information. This is a rapidly evolving situation, so be paying very close attention to this, especially if you live on the northern tip of Mexico here. Well, we have had quite the evolution over the past several days, or past couple of days, really. I didn't make a video past couple of days and missed the formation of Delta here, and now we have a rapidly evolving tropical storm with winds of 70 miles per hour, and is likely going to continue to strengthen at maybe an even quicker pace here as this continues on generally to the northwest towards the Yucatan tip of the Yucatan Peninsula over the next few days. One thing to note right now with the visible imagery here, you can see, there's the eye-like feature that is beginning to form here, and this is likely getting very close to hurricane strength now. The recon is heading in for another pass as I record this video, and this eye, per the last recon pass, was found to be closed and 18 nautical miles across, and that forebodes, possible explosive intensification here, and you really have, could not be in a better environment for rapid intensification here, and the intensity forecast currently for the National Hurricane Center may end up being conservative, which is just mind-boggling to think about here. So what is helping this right now? Well, we have an eye that is now closed, and you have bands that have been wrapping into the eye all day, and you have, banding that is setting up practically all around the system. You have, a massive amount of atmosphere that this system is moving. And if we zoom out to the water vapor loop, you can tell a couple things here. You can see, I scroll down just a little bit, you can see how massive this storm's moisture bubble is, and this moisture bubble will be moving in tandem with the storm. It will not be getting sheared. This dry air off to the northwest that I'm circling here is not getting sheared into the storm. The shear vector is generally out of the direction that the storm is moving, so this is not something that is going to be hindering the storm. Most of the mid-level and upper-level flow is in tandem with the storm's movement, and that has shifted from earlier when the shear was more northerly and coming out of the north-northeast and pressing on the system, preventing the storm from closing off an eye wall. And the conditions are not exactly favorable right now for rapid intensification, but tomorrow they should be practically perfect for the storm to intensify here. And so a couple things to note is that since the storm has deepened a little faster than expected, it has been consistently south and west of the forecast track here. And so the original forecast track had it passing much closer to Jamaica, and as you can see, that has not transpired here, as it has taken several dips to the southwest today, and is now only just beginning to kind of turn off to the west-northwest. And so what that means is that the storm will likely be generally more south upon approach to the Gulf of Mexico, which involves the northern tip of the Yucatan Peninsula much less than much more than the western tip of Cuba now. And so hurricane warnings have been issued in accordance with the southern shift in the track here for Cancun and the northern tip of the Yucatan Peninsula, which just got hit by Gamma the other day. So this is, something that you have to be watching very closely here, as this will have a couple of days over the Western Caribbean here, as this is moving a little slower now. Another thing to note is that since it is deeper, the mid-level flow and the upper-level flow is slower than the lower-level trade fetch that was originally going to guide the storm very quickly through the Western Caribbean and not give it as much time. So now that it's deeper, it kind of is a little more top-heavy, and so it'll feel the upper winds and the mid-level winds more, and those will help steer the system a little more. And so that means that it will likely be moving slower towards the Yucatan Peninsula rather than the original faster pace. This is not moving very fast. If we look at the recon pass, in between passes here, this is about an hour and a half, and you can see it has hardly moved since that pass, and we have recon going in for another pass here out of the southeast, and we can see the reason why this is going to be able to intensify rather quickly here is because this very, very tiny radius of maximum wind that we're seeing here. This is not very large, and it does not expand out much beyond the eye of the tropical storm, soon to be hurricane. And the reason that is concerning is because typically storms with smaller radius of maximum wind are able to strengthen very quickly. And given the environment that we are going to be seeing, this very, very, very low shear environment here, that this will be moving with the storm, and this will be in practically primed conditions for the next couple of days. If we look at the sea surface temperatures, here is Gamma off to the southwest here of Jamaica, and it will be passing through these sea surface temperatures. This is very deep and very warm waters here, and this will be passing over some of the hottest waters in the Atlantic, and this will be passing towards the Yucatan Peninsula, possibly as a very powerful hurricane. Now, it's looking more and more dire for this part of the world here now, and the only thing that may prevent catastrophic damage for a widespread area is the fact that this is very, very small. The core of the storm is very small. This is a gigantic circulation here that this storm has quite the influence now. And regardless, this will be bringing heavy rain to the Cuban coastline pretty much throughout, and this will be impacting the Cayman Islands here, seen just off to the northwest, but much less now than it was previously. If we look at the GFS model depicting the upper level winds here, you can see this gigantic upper level ridge here that is seen kind of just to the north of Gamma or Delta. And you can see that the initial flow that was being impinged upon the system out of the east-northeast is now turning to the west-northwest here. And so this will essentially round this ridge now, and the interaction with Gamma is going to be a lot less since Gamma is, much weaker. And so if we play this out, you can see this enters a very, very light field of wind shear, and this upper level flow is generally in tandem with the system and is not moving very fast, and most of this is actually outflow that you're seeing here that is being pushed out of the storm, and you can actually see another outflow channel out of the south, and this is all just helping the system. This is all divergence in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and that will be helping the system continue to ventilate itself as it moves generally westward. And so this may become, says 978 millibars right now. Well, at 30 hours, it's already at 984 millibars. So this is definitely going to be adjusted come the 0Z model suite as this moves towards the Yucatan Peninsula. And beyond that, we have a continued favorable environment here, and this upper level ridging essentially stays over the system all the way through its trek in the southern Gulf before turning to the north. As you see, there's a trough here just off your screen that is directing flow out of the southwest, and this will pick up the storm. So it's going to be very difficult for this to get all the way west to Texas here. It's not likely to happen. And so the GFS has the trough guiding the flow generally out of the southwest. You can see that it bottoms out here in the Gulf at 956 millibars. Again, this intensity forecast on the GFS is likely to be adjusted, but this is only 3 days away, so you really do need to be watching this very, very closely, as this is likely to be a serious problem for the northern Gulf Coast. If we look at the 5-day cone for the storm here, this is much further south than it was yesterday when it was up here, and most of that cone was going directly through Cuba. Now that has shifted about 100 miles to the southwest, and now has a major hurricane with winds of 125 miles per hour now making landfall, or getting very close to that landfall on the northern tip of the Yucatan Peninsula. And you know how much this is able to interact with the Yucatan does determine, you know, how strong this is able to get in the southern Gulf. If it does indeed take this southern track, it will have more time over warmer waters before getting pushed to the north. And you know that this is still 5 days, 4 to 5 days out from impacting, you know, a very wide swath of the northern Gulf Coast is in play here, and primarily Louisiana is in play here, and that is, you know, very unfortunate. But you know, if you're anywhere between, you know, Houston and Pensacola, and even further to the west or further to the east of Pensacola, you do need to be preparing for what may be a hurricane and possibly major hurricane impact here. We'll really have to see, you know, how strong this is able to get. But this is, you know, going to be something that is, you know, very quickly evolving, and really do need to be watching this for every movement that it makes. And, you know, just have a plan in place and be ready to, you know, evacuate if you need to. This will be weakening upon approach, and that is due to this trough eventually winning out over the upper level ridge that you can see here. And that flow eventually turns more out of the southwest, and the storm gets sheared upon approach and loses steam as it hits central Louisiana. Again, this track could change, and you know, we still have a lot of time for stuff to be figured out here, as this is, you know, beyond 4 days, and a lot can change in that time. So again, I'm going to reiterate, you know, if you're anywhere between the Galveston area all the way to just to the east of Pensacola, you need to be preparing for what may be a pretty significant hurricane here. This is not, you know, this is not going to have a ton of time to weaken, especially if it takes this western track, because again, if we look at the sea surface temperatures here, just to reiterate once again, if it takes this westerly track, it's over these sea surface temperatures for longer before turning to the north. And again, it would be even longer if it were turning a little further to the west. And, you know, if it takes this northerly track, or this track that, you know, spares the Yucatan, it moves more over the cooler waters here, determined by the, that have been caused by the repeated cold fronts that have been going over the Gulf Coast. And so you really don't want it advancing further to the west, because of the Western Gulf being significantly warmer than the North Central Gulf, and it would have more time to weaken upon approach to Louisiana if it took a more central track. And so you really have to be watching this over the next couple of days. I will be updating everybody on this for, you know, the days to come, and just please stay safe and be aware of what is, you know, coming your way. And please heed the warnings of your local officials, especially if you are in northern Mexico here. Please, you know, refer to your local officials and your local weather services for the latest information on this storm. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.